In a land once filled with beauty, Aelric wandered the fields of Eldoria, haunted by the memories of his fall from grace. Betrayed by his own family, he now lived as a peasant under the cruel rule of his father, King Eldon. Anger and hopelessness weighed heavily on him, but amid the ruins of an ancient castle, he felt a spark of hope. Little did he know, destiny was waiting, and a mysterious amulet would soon change everything, setting him on a path to reclaim his legacy. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the fields of Eldoria. Elric walked slowly, each step heavy with memories of a life that once was. The golden wheat swayed gently, but it offered him no comfort. He remembered the day he was stripped of his title, the rightful prince, betrayed by those who should have loved him most. How could they? He whispered to himself, his voice barely breaking the silence of the empty fields. Betrayal was a bitter taste, like ash in his mouth. His father, King Eldon, once a proud ruler, had become a tyrant. The kingdom that thrived under the warmth of his grandfather's reign was now a shadow, darkened by greed and cruelty. Aelric recalled the echoes of laughter and joy that once filled the palace halls, now replaced by the whispers of fear. "What have you done, father?" he murmured, clenching his fists in frustration. As he wandered through the fields, Elric felt the weight of hopelessness settle on his shoulders. He was no longer a prince, but a mere peasant, living off the land that had once been his birthright. "This is not who I am," he thought, a surge of anger rising within him. He longed for the days when he could walk with his head held high, not as a man broken by betrayal. Suddenly, a glint caught his eye. In the distance, the ruins of an ancient castle stood, cloaked in vines and shadows. It had been years since he had dared to approach it. The stories of his childhood rushed back to him, tales of bravery, of magic, and of hope. "What secrets do you hide?" he wondered aloud, his heart racing. Perhaps this place still held whispers of the past that could guide him. With each step toward the ruins, Elric felt a pull, a connection to something greater than himself. The castle, though crumbling, seemed to breathe life into his weary spirit. "Maybe here, in this forgotten place, I can find answers," he thought. As he crossed the threshold, the air grew thick with memories, and he could almost hear the laughter of his youth. Inside, the walls echoed with the past. He touched the cold stone, feeling the history seep into his fingertips. "Is this where it all began?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The ghosts of yesteryears seemed to swirl around him, filling the silence with murmurs of hope and despair. Aelric closed his eyes, allowing the memories to wash over him like rain. In that moment, he remembered his brother Calum, their bond once unbreakable. "What happened to us?" he breathed, a mixture of sorrow and longing in his heart. The image of his brother's betrayal flashed through his mind, a wound that had never fully healed. "You chose power over family," he murmured, pain lacing his words. The thought of Calum, now a rival, twisted the knife deeper. Yet, amidst the turmoil, a flicker of hope ignited within Aelric. The ruins, once a reminder of loss, now held the promise of redemption. Could I change the past? He pondered, a daring thought taking root in his mind. What if I could reclaim what was lost? The idea sent a shiver down his spine, a mixture of excitement and fear. As he stood in the heart of the ruins, the sun began to set, casting an orange glow that danced across the stones. What legacy do I leave behind? He questioned, the weight of the world pressing down on him. Aelric looked up at the sky, where stars began to twinkle like distant memories, each one a reminder of what he had to fight for. Eldoria deserves better, he declared, the fire of determination igniting within him. He would not let his father's rule continue unchecked. I will find a way, he promised himself, the ruins now a symbol of his resolve. Elric took a deep breath, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the depths of despair, he had found a flicker of hope, a reason to rise once more. Elric stood before the ancient amulet, its surface shimmering with an eerie light. The air around it felt charged, almost alive, as if it held the secrets of the universe. Despite his fears, curiosity tugged at him. What if this could change everything? He whispered to himself, hesitating for just a moment. He reached out, fingers trembling, and touched the amulet. In an instant, the world around him shifted. The colors blurred, and Elric felt as if he was being pulled through a tunnel of light. When the dizzying sensation faded, he found himself in a familiar yet distant place, the grand hall of the Eldorian castle, years before his fall from grace. The laughter of courtiers echoed off the stone walls, and the scent of rich feasts filled the air. Aelric's heart raced as he spotted his younger self at the center of the room, speaking animatedly with his brother, Calum. They looked so happy, so innocent. Elric wanted to call out to them, to warn them of the betrayal that loomed ahead, but he was a mere observer in this moment of time. Suddenly, the door swung open, and King Eldon entered, his presence commanding silence. Elric felt a chill run down his spine as he recalled the harsh words that had shaped his destiny. "Calum!" the king bellowed, his voice echoing in the hall. "You have been chosen to lead our kingdom. Elric, you are not fit to wear the crown." The younger Elric flinched at the king's words, the hurt clear on his face. Aelric, now a watcher in his own past, felt the sting of those words like a dagger in his heart. "Father, I can learn," the younger Elric stammered, desperation creeping into his voice. "I can be a good prince." "No!" King Eldon snapped, his eyes cold and unyielding. "You are weak, Elric. You will never be what this kingdom needs." Elric felt the weight of despair settle over him. He had thought that confronting his past would bring clarity, but instead, it only deepened his pain. As he watched, Calum stepped forward, his face a mix of pride and uncertainty. "Father, Aelric may surprise you. He is not without his strengths." The king's gaze hardened. "You will not defend him, Calum. This is not a matter of affection. It is about strength. Elric must learn his place." Elric's heart sank further. He could see the moment his brother chose loyalty to their father over their bond. The betrayal was not just a single act. It was a series of choices that had led to his downfall. "Calum, no!" Elric wanted to shout, but his voice was lost in the echoes of time. Suddenly, the scene began to blur again, and Elric felt himself being pulled away. Panic surged within him. "Wait, I need to see more." But it was too late. He was thrust back into the present, the amulet still glowing in his hand. Breathing heavily, Aelric sank to his knees, overwhelmed by the realization of what he had witnessed. "So it was true," he murmured, tears brimming in his eyes. It was not just the betrayal. It was misunderstanding and fear. He felt torn between anger and sorrow. Aelric had always believed his brother had turned against him, but now he saw that Calum had been caught in their father's web of power. "I never understood," he whispered, grappling with the emotional turmoil inside him. "I thought I could just change it all." But as the images of the past lingered in his mind, he realized changing the past was not simple. Each decision held weight, each choice rippling through time. What if I change something and make it worse, he thought, the fear of unintended consequences gnawing at him. With a heavy sigh, Elric stood up, the amulet still pulsing in his palm. He knew he had to be careful, to think deeply about any action he might take. "The past is not just a story to rewrite," he whispered, a newfound determination igniting within him. "It is a lesson to learn from." As he gazed into the amulet's glow, Elric understood that he must tread lightly. The path ahead was uncertain, but he felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps understanding the past could guide him toward a better future, one that could break the cycle of betrayal and lead to a new legacy for Eldoria. Elric stood in the quiet glen, the sunlight filtering through the trees, casting gentle shadows on the ground. His heart raced as he prepared to confront Elowen, the love he had lost to time and betrayal. Memories flooded his mind, her laughter, her smile, the way her eyes sparkled when she looked at him. But now, as he stepped closer, he felt a heavy weight in his chest. Would she recognize him? Would she remember their love? As he approached, he saw her sitting by a small stream, her long hair flowing like golden silk in the breeze. She seemed peaceful, unaware of his presence. Elric hesitated. What would he say? Would it be right to disrupt the life she had built? He took a deep breath and stepped forward. Elowen, he called softly. She turned, her brow furrowing in confusion. Do I know you? Her voice was gentle but distant, like a fading echo. The pang of lost connection hit him hard. It's Elric, he said, his voice trembling. From Eldoria. Your love. She looked at him with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Elric? But you are not him. He was lost ages ago. Elric's heart sank. The weight of her words pressed down on him. I have returned, he said, struggling to keep his voice steady. I came to find you, to fix what was broken. Fix? Elowen's eyes narrowed. You speak of things that cannot be undone. The past is gone, Elric. We cannot change it. He felt a swirl of emotions, anger, sadness, and desperation. But I can try. I have seen the moments that led to our downfall. I can intervene. I can save us. Save us? She replied, her tone sharper now. What makes you think your actions would help? Have you considered the chaos you might unleash? Every change has a consequence. Elric paused, her words cutting deep. He had thought only of his desire to rewrite history, to reclaim their love. But now he faced the truth. His interference could bring more harm than good. The memories of happier times with Elowen flooded back, reminding him of the warmth they once shared. In his mind, he saw the two of them wandering through the blooming gardens of Eldoria, laughter ringing in the air. We were so happy, he murmured, more to himself than to her. Yes, Elowen replied softly, her expression softening for a moment. We were. But that happiness was built on dreams, not reality. You cannot dwell in the past forever. It is a shadow that will consume you. Elric felt the weight of her words as he wrestled with his internal conflict. Each time he attempted to fix the past, he felt himself drifting further from who he was meant to be. What if I could show you the truth? The truth of my heart, of my intentions? Intentions do not change the fabric of time, Elric, she replied, her voice steady. You must decide who you want to be now. Are you a prince seeking revenge or a man seeking redemption? He looked into her eyes, searching for the connection they once had. I want to be a better man. I want to honor what we had, not destroy it with my choices. Elowen took a step back, her gaze piercing. Then you must learn to let go, Elric. Sometimes, the greatest act of love is to allow others to live their lives without the weight of your past. As she turned away, Elric felt his heart break all over again. The realization dawned on him. Every attempt to alter the past was pulling him away from his true self. He had to face the future, not just for himself, but for Elowen too. Goodbye, Elowen, he whispered, feeling the tears sting his eyes. I hope you find happiness. With that, Elric turned and walked away, the glen fading into the background. Each step echoed the weight of his dilemma, the burden of redemption heavier than ever. He was left with the haunting truth. Changing the past could never bring back what was lost. Instead, he needed to forge a new path, one that honored his love for Elowen and the lessons he had learned along the way. Aelric stood at the edge of a familiar field, his heart heavy with the weight of his choices. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows that danced on the ground. Each shadow felt like a reminder of the past he had tried to reshape. The amulet hung around his neck, a constant reminder of the power he wielded, yet it brought him no comfort. Instead, it filled him with a deep sense of unease. As he moved through the fields, he noticed changes in the landscape. A vibrant flower patch flourished where he once remembered barren earth. "Is this what I have done?" he whispered to himself, feeling a shiver run down his spine. The air felt thick with the echoes of choices made and unmade. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the trees. It was Elowen, but not the Elowen he remembered. This Elowen smiled brightly, her laughter ringing like chimes in the wind. "Aelric!" she called out, running toward him. "You're back. I thought you were lost forever." Elric's heart sank. You know me?" "Of course. You saved the village last summer, remember?" she replied, her eyes sparkling with admiration. Elric struggled to find his voice. "I did what I could, but that was not me. I am not the hero you think I am." "Don't be so hard on yourself," she said, placing a hand on his arm. "Your actions have made a difference. This place is thriving because of you." He looked around, realizing that in this alternate reality, his choices brought joy to some, but were a burden to others. He turned and walked away, needing space to breathe. The joy he witnessed felt like a knife in his heart. This was not the world he had hoped to create. As he continued on, he met a man he once called a friend, a blacksmith named Garrick. "Aelric!" Garrick exclaimed, his face lighting up. "You returned! I heard of your deeds! You are a legend now!" "Legend?" Aelric echoed, shaking his head. "I am no legend. I am a man who cannot find his place." Garrick frowned, confusion etched across his features. "But you changed everything for the better. Look at our village. Look at our lives." Aelric felt the weight of conflicting emotions. "But at what cost? I see joy, but I also see pain. What of those I loved who are no longer here?" "Sometimes we must accept that change brings both good and bad," Garrick replied, his tone serious. "You cannot control everything. You must let go." Aelric's mind raced. Let go? How can I let go when my family thrives without me? When the kingdom flourishes without my presence? "Is that what you truly want?" Garrick asked, his voice steady. "To be a part of a world that moves on without you? Or to find peace in who you are and what you've done?" Aelric turned away, his heart aching. He wandered deeper into the forest, seeking solace among the trees. He thought of his family, of his father, and of Calum. He saw flashes of a life where they were happy without him. Their laughter echoed in his mind, but it felt like a distant memory. "Why do I feel so lost?" Aelric murmured to himself, his voice barely a whisper. "Am I meant to be alone in this?" At that moment, he stumbled upon a clearing filled with vibrant flowers and soft grass. He fell to his knees, overwhelmed with a sense of clarity. What is legacy? He pondered aloud, his heart heavy with confusion. Is it power? Is it love? What defines a prince? The sun began to set, casting a golden glow around him. Aelric closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. In that moment of stillness, he realized that perhaps legacy was not about changing the past, but accepting it. It was about the love he shared, the connections he made, and the understanding that true strength lay in vulnerability. As the stars began to twinkle above, Aelric stood up, a newfound determination igniting within him. He understood now that he must find a way back to his true self, not through manipulation, but through acceptance. The road ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to embrace whatever lay in store for him. Aelric stood at the edge of the forest, the trees whispering secrets as the wind danced through their leaves. In that moment of quiet, he felt a shift within himself. He had spent so long trying to change the past, but now he began to realize that true redemption lay not in manipulation, but in acceptance. The lessons of his past were not chains to bind him, but stepping stones to a better future. His thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps approaching. Aelric turned to see Calum emerging from the shadows, his expression a mix of uncertainty and determination. The brothers had not spoken since Aelric's return, and the air was thick with unspoken words. "Why have you come here, Aelric?" Calum asked, his voice low and cautious. "You should not be so close to the castle." "I needed to think," Aelric replied, his heart racing. "I've been thinking about us, about everything that has happened." Calum's brow furrowed. "There is nothing to discuss. You chose to leave, to abandon your family." "I left because I had to," Aelric said, his voice rising with emotion. "But I am back now, and I want to understand. I want to make things right." For a moment, silence hung between them, heavy and filled with tension. Then, Calum stepped closer, his eyes searching Aelric's face. "You really believe you can fix this, after everything?" "I don't want to fix the past," Aelric admitted. "I want to find a way to move forward, together." Calum's expression softened, and Aelric saw a flicker of the brother he once knew. "Together? You mean to confront father?" "Yes," Aelric said, nodding slowly. "But not with anger or vengeance. I want to propose peace. I want to show him the man I have become, not the boy he cast aside." Calum's gaze dropped to the ground. "You think he will listen? He has always been blind to what truly matters." "Maybe," Aelric replied, his voice steady. "But if I do not try, then nothing will ever change. We need to remind him that love can be stronger than hate, that family is worth fighting for." The vulnerability in Aelric's words reached Calum. He took a deep breath, his shoulders relaxing. "You have changed, Aelric. I can see that. But are you sure you are ready for this?" "I am ready to embrace who I am," Aelric said, meeting his brother's gaze. "And I am ready to forgive. I believe we can heal our family, Calum." Aelric felt a warmth in his chest as he saw understanding bloom in Calum's eyes. "Then we must prepare. If we are to face father, we need a plan." Together, they spent hours discussing how to approach King Eldon, weaving a strategy that centered on compassion rather than confrontation. As they spoke, Aelric felt a sense of hope blossoming between them, a fragile bond beginning to mend the rift that had torn their family apart. The sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the land. Aelric looked out at the horizon, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. "Do you think our kingdom can accept this change?" he asked, uncertainty creeping into his voice. Calum placed a hand on Aelric's shoulder, grounding him. "Change is never easy, but if we stand united, we can lead them toward a better future. They need to see that we are not just brothers, we are leaders who care for our people." Aelric nodded, his heart swelling with determination. "Then let us show them what true leadership looks like. Let us show them that our legacy can be built on love and forgiveness." With renewed purpose, the brothers set their course toward the castle, ready to face their father. Aelric knew that the path ahead would not be easy, but he also knew that it was the only way to reclaim the legacy of Eldoria, not through power or revenge, but through understanding and compassion. As they walked side by side, Aelric felt a sense of belonging that had eluded him for so long. He was ready to embrace his journey, knowing that true strength lay in the ability to forgive. Aelric stood at the entrance of the grand hall, his heart pounding in his chest. The air was thick with tension as he prepared to face his father, King Eldon. The walls, once adorned with banners of the royal family, now felt like a prison to him. He took a deep breath, steadying himself, and stepped inside. The sight of his father was both familiar and foreign. King Eldon sat upon the throne, an imposing figure wrapped in rich robes, his face marked by age and anger, twisted into a scowl as he spotted Aelric. "What do you want, boy?" Eldon's voice boomed, echoing off the stone walls. Aelric swallowed hard. "Father, I have come to talk." His voice shook slightly, but he pushed through. "We need to speak about the kingdom, about our family." Eldon leaned forward, narrowing his eyes. "Talk? You think you can just return and demand my attention? You are a traitor, nothing more." "Traitor?" Aelric felt a surge of anger but quickly tempered it with resolve. "I was once your son. I am still your son, despite everything that has happened." Eldon's expression softened for just a moment, a flicker of something almost human crossing his face. "You lost that title the day you chose to abandon your family." "I didn't abandon anyone," Aelric cried, stepping closer. "I was betrayed by my own blood, by you and Calum. But I have seen the pain that this rift has caused. I want to fix it." King Eldon scoffed, shaking his head. "Fix it? You think words can mend what has been broken? The kingdom is in shambles because of your absence, and you dare come back pretending you can lead?" "I am not pretending," Aelric replied, his voice steady now. "I have learned much during my time away. I have seen the suffering of our people, the fear they live in under your rule. I can help you, Father. We can heal this kingdom together." Eldon's eyes darkened, and his voice dropped to a low growl. "You think you can sway me with your lofty ideals? Power comes from fear, not love." Aelric felt a surge of determination. "And what has that power brought you? A kingdom torn apart, a family shattered." "I refuse to believe that fear is the only way. We can lead with compassion and understanding. Isn't that what a true king should do?" The hall fell silent. Eldon looked away, the weight of Aelric's words hanging in the air. "You speak of compassion, yet you have shown none to me. You think you can just waltz back into my life and expect forgiveness?" "I do not expect it," Aelric said softly, his tone earnest. "But I hope for it. I want us to be whole again, for the sake of Eldoria and for the future." Eldon's jaw tightened, but Aelric could see the conflict in his father's eyes. "And what of Calum? He is still my blood. He is still my prince." "Calum has suffered too," Aelric replied. "He is lost, just as you are. We cannot change the past, but we can choose how to move forward. Let go of the anger, Father. Let go of the hatred." A tension-filled silence stretched between them, and Aelric felt the weight of the moment. Finally, Eldon spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "What is it you want from me?" "I want us to be a family again," Aelric said, tears welling in his eyes. "I want to help you heal the kingdom, to show our people that we can be united. It begins with us." King Eldon looked deep into Aelric's eyes, and for a brief moment, Aelric saw the man he once admired. The king's shoulders slumped as if a great burden rested upon them. "And if I refuse? Then we will continue to watch our kingdom fall apart," Aelric replied, his heart aching. "But I believe you can choose differently. This is your chance to be the king Eldoria deserves." Eldon's gaze fell to the floor, and Aelric felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. Perhaps this was the moment they could change everything. Perhaps love and forgiveness could indeed forge a new path forward. At last, Eldon raised his eyes, and for the first time, Aelric saw a glimmer of understanding. "Very well," he said slowly. "Let us talk. Let us see if there is still hope for our family." In that moment, Aelric knew they had taken the first step toward healing the rift, not just within their family, but within the kingdom of Eldoria itself. Share this story if you believe that love and forgiveness can mend even the deepest rifts. Leave a comment about a time when a heartfelt conversation changed your life, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales like this one.